Hey folks, welcome to Breach Please, the cybersecurity show for people who are tired of being sold a firewall and a feeling. I'm Jess Heavenstraight, and with me as always is Jake Williams. Between the two of us, we've broken into networks, defended them, and shown up at 3 a.m. to clean up the messes that everybody else has hot takes about online. So when we tell you something's nonsense, you can take it to the bank. Here's the deal. Every episode, we take the security stories that actually matter, we translate them out of vendor speak and into English, and we say things your CISO wishes they could say out loud, but they can't because, they have a mortgage or kids or, want another vendor dinner or that kind of thing. No fear-mongering, no vendor scripts, and absolutely no synergizing our threat posture. If you hear that phrase on this show, it's a duress signal. Breach, please. Pull up a chair. Hey, Jake.
I got to tell you, when you said because they have kids, I could just picture, and I'm not going to tell you which vendor, and I don't want you to say the vendor either.
Okay.
But I'm guessing we're going to line on the same vendor here, and we can talk offline here. I was picturing that vendor like deploying a van with masked men to like steal their kids if they said something bad about them. Yeah. Anyway, let's compare vendor notes later for which vendor would be most likely to do that, right? Or maybe more accurately, right? Which vendor has the rep where that's actually a thing that we're thinking about?
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
So yeah.
Nice.
But yeah,
Nice.
how's it going?
It's good. We're recording on a Saturday today, and so I had, family stuff this morning. It is still a billion degrees in Phoenix, and even at 8 a.m., the dew point was at 60. It was already 97 degrees here, and it was miserable. But my middle son had a soccer scrimmage for his new club soccer team, and he did amazing. Like all the parents were saying his name and stuff, so that made me feel good. Yeah.
There you go. That's fantastic. They win?
No. They played
No.
the next older team up, in the same club, so it's fine. It's a good learning experience, but
It's a scrimmage anyway, right?
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
okay. Well, very cool. Very
Yeah.
cool.
Yeah.
Cool,
What about with
cool.
you? What's up with you?
I mean, I saw my daughter last night. We did a
Nice.
class yesterday. Let me talk about first,
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
Did the MCP class. Great feedback there. Probably something I'll be running again at some point because of that, right? And so, but it was a lot of fun. It was a lot of fun.
Nice.
Unsurprisingly, and I know this will not shock you at all, I overdid it on material.
What?
I had more material than we had time for, but okay, right?
Yeah.
Better that than the other problem, right? Where you show up and you've got like 3 hours of material for an 8-hour class, right?
Yeah.
I mean, that doesn't happen to me, but I've heard about it happening to others,
Yeah.
and I don't want to be in that position.
Yeah,
So
100%.
yeah,
100%.
yeah. Otherwise,
Nice.
saw my daughter last night and
Great.
got dinner and that's been about it.
Has her college year started yet, or is she
Oh,
getting
yeah,
ready?
yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. So she's really interesting. Last night reminded me of some interviews that I've done with tech interviews, right? For different interesting jobs, right?
Yeah.
Where they try to make sure that there's just no way you coming in off the street, right, could possibly have a they want to know your aptitude, right? Not your current, like they've already screened you for your current skills. They want to know your aptitude, so they throw wild curveballs that you just could not have prepped for. And so she's in early childhood education, and they are teaching her how to teach math. And so to do that, because we all already have too much built-in knowledge of like what do we already know, they're making them teach it in base 6.
Holy cow.
Right? Yeah. And I got to tell you, like that immediately like hit me of like, oh yeah, no, that's the, because there's no way that you could have thought about base 6 before we do base 2, base 8, base 16, right? Base 5 would be an easy divisor of 10, and so no, base 6. Yeah, I'm like, that's okay.
But,
yeah, well done.
Wow.
Yeah.
I had no idea that is how that is approached. And
Yeah.
wow.
Yeah.
Okay.
I mean, that's not how they will eventually teach kids. They're going to teach
I'm
kids
aware.
base 10. Okay, good to go. I was just making sure, like it was clear.
I'm aware. None of my kids have been taught basics math.
Yeah. This isn't some newfangled thing, right? But yeah,
Interesting.
so definitely some interesting outside of the box implications
Yeah.
there. But Speaking outside of the box, sounds like some people have gotten inside the box potentially here, right? What's going
Potentially,
on in the
yeah.
news?
So I saw this article on the Register that um, says Microsoft sounds the alarm as a perfect 10 Entra ID flaw comes under attack. So we should say there is some uncertainty in the reporting between different sources as to whether it actually is under attack or not. Um, so we can circle back to that in a moment. But basically, there's this CVSS score of 10. Like, it's like the Olympics, you get a perfect 10.
Yeah.
That could potentially allow an unauthenticated attacker to execute code remotely in Microsoft's cloud identity service, Entra ID. It was disclosed on Thursday. Turns out there were also four other CVSS 10s released by Microsoft on Thursday.
Four
Um,
other or four total? That was four
for
total.
other, no, I think it's five
Other?
total. Let me,
Oh man. Okay, I'll track it down. Keep going. Sorry.
okay. I think in the bleeping computer it says four more.
Yeah, you're right.
I usually have. No.
You're right. You're right. Yeah. Okay. I was combining. Oddly enough, was combining the two Azure Arc ones.
Oh,
So
yeah. So basically, the vulnerability comes from unsafe deserialization in some software reconstructs where data is supplied from an untrusted source and not validated. And an attacker could exploit the weakness over a network without an account and without needing user interaction, like clicking on a link, opening something, those kinds of things. Um, this sounds bad. Microsoft has assured us that they've fixed it now. And, luckily, let's say this is being actively exploited because it's kind of in question here. Luckily, we as consumers don't have to do anything because it's in Entra and Microsoft controls that. And they said they, got it all patched up and everything already. However, if this is being actively exploited, there is a striking lack of detail here. And that concerns me as a consumer, not as an individual consumer necessarily, but like for my organization and what that means and was my instance impacted and what happened. And I have no way of
yeah,
hunting or anything. I mean, it's just there's very few details available here.
yeah. What does code execution in Entra even mean?
I mean, control plane, right? I mean,
That's the way I've got to read it, right? It's not like I don't have an isolated Entra environment as a consumer, right?
right?
So yeah, I don't. I that sounds horrific.
Yeah.
So wow, okay. And a CVS as a 10 would imply privileged access, at least in some contexts. And
Mm-hmm.
if it's a CVS as a 10, and again, there are not different contexts within Entra, right?
Right.
There's it's not like software like we sometimes see CVS as a 10 for software we deploy. It's only has elevated privileges in some installs, but it still gets a 10 because of that.
Mm-hmm.
Like here, there's only one, right? It's Entra.
Yeah.
They deploy it, manage it. Woof. So I found interesting looking at the MSRC article. They
What's
said,
the
hey,
MSRC for folks that don't know what that is?
oh yeah, the Microsoft Security Research Center. Thank you. Yep. So looking at their article, which is very very stripped down. They said, hey, why are there no in the FAQ? It says frequently asked questions. Why are there no links to update to an update or instructions to steps that must be taken to protect from this vulnerability? And ironically, they said. This vulnerability has already been fully mitigated by Microsoft. There's no action for users of the service to take. The purpose of this CVE is to provide further transparency. Okay, we got to talk here, right? Because this is the opposite of transparency. I mean, it's a step. I guess it's a step towards transparency in a route, right? But or in a way, but it
Like a
it doesn't.
concept of transparency?
Oh, concept of a plan.
Yeah.
Well played, my friend. Well
Thank you.
played. Um, but yeah, I guess I don't know. This
Like, what do
is
we do with this, right?
right,
And
right.
the Register has an article that says it is being actively exploited.
Mhm.
Bleeping Computer has an article that said, with a correction at the bottom, saying Microsoft reported that they inadvertently marked it as exploited in the wild, and that's now been corrected. And so Bleeping Computer has a different article up there. Um, I I don't know. I'm in this place of uncertainty of I honestly don't know which one to believe.
Well, for what it's worth, the Microsoft article, the MSRC page, typically says when it's being exploited in the wild, according to
Okay.
Microsoft. Now, well, it's not always reliable. I'm not saying that
Right.
they're hiding anything. I'm just saying like it's just not always reliable that that's going to get updated, or have all the current and up to date information. But yeah, I mean, I guess for me, like I I am obviously concerned. We talked about in the past, sort of centralizing, centralizing all of our authentication, and in cloud services and what have you, with a few big players.
Yeah.
And this certainly is, yeah. I mean, this falls right into that concern space.
Yeah. So the hypotheticals, let's say it is being actively exploited.
Sure.
Or it was, sorry, because it's
Yep.
fixed now. I mean, what does that mean for me as an organization that uses Entra ID as my ADP?
Hmm.
Like, what do I do to validate my environment now?
Well, first off, like if we're talking about validating the environment, I think you can only validate as far as your configurations, right, which you have access to. And that's where I think, Microsoft is kind of, I hate to say falling down on the job here. I don't know what else to say here, right? Like there should either be a statement, we are actively investigating this. We have not confirmed that you haven't been breached yet, right? Or we can confirm the following, people
Thing.
haven't, right?
Right.
Something like,
Yeah.
but as it stands now, like, I as as a a Microsoft customer in an enterprise, I should not be reading about this on Bleeping Computer. I should not be wondering whether or not my assets in Entra, because again, like for even if they're not your core IDP, they almost certainly are your IDP into Azure,
Mm-hmm.
the Azure control plane, right?
Right.
I mean, even if you use SSO and federate in, right? Like if somebody can have code execution, right, in Entra, I don't think any of that matters. MFA is off the table. I mean, remember a couple of years ago, SolarWinds, right? Literally there with Golden SAML,
Yep.
right? Just the ability to even sign your own assertions. And then actually Storm 0558, right? More recently, right? It's the ability to sign your own assertions. Yeah. I Okay, so then I guess my answer is for the what am I looking at? It's got to be, this is almost unactionable, right? For advice, right? Because it's going and looking at weird logins, right? It's weird. It's
Yeah.
weird logins that could be controlled by Entra, and I you got to presume any threat actor that's got this level of access. I mean, heck, so you're executing code. I don't even know for sure that you're. I can't rely on the Entra logs.
Right.
Sorry, that's what I was working all the way back around to. I can't rely. I can rely on logs elsewhere that show that an Entra, uh, basically that a service principal, oh, sorry, credential specifically for a service principal, was seen doing something,
Mm-hmm.
right? But I'd have to marry those logs. So this is actually, you know what? This is Golden SAML all over again. I started there. I'm going to end there. The actionable advice is it's hunting the negative. It's
Yeah.
it's going through, and I don't think you can do this at scale in most orgs, right? But it's going through your legitimate logins, right? Because they're all legitimate until proven not, and then going back to Entra and saying which of these can I not marry up, right? On the where Entra was accepted, right?
Mm-hmm.
Versus, and even this presumes, right? Versus where an Entra, ticket effectively was, um, ticket's the wrong token, token was issued, is, but I mean, and that's presuming the threat actor is making sure that those logs don't appear in Entra. They can't do anything out of band, right? But
I mean, there is a delay in sending logs out to an outside SIM, right?
well, sure, but I mean, you're doing historical hunting here, so the delay doesn't
Yeah.
really matter, right?
Okay.
So
So for folks who don't know what a golden SAML is, do you want to explain
yeah,
that?
yeah. Golden SAML was this actually was first broadly talked about, right? People talked about it before elsewhere, but first broadly talked about after the SolarWinds incident, where Russian threat actors basically had a supply chain compromise of SolarWinds that allowed them to get into a number of different networks, piggybacking on the SolarWinds Orion installation. Once they're in the network and they gain domain admin privileges, they can take the signing key on your domain controller. That allows you, because I'm sure you've experienced where you log in to your Windows, Active Directory domain, and you're auto logged in to
Yep.
M365.
Yep.
And so SAML is what makes that happen, right? So basically, your domain controller, well, it's the reverse here, your M365 tenant, your Entra tenant, right, has been told to trust any assertions made by your domain controllers. And so, in order to establish that trust, there's a signing key. And so, if a threat actor steals that key, they can mint assertions without going through the domain controller. They no longer have to be in your domain, right? And so then they can randomly log into anything in M365. And so the way we hunted a lot of that was to say, okay, here we have access in M365. It says your domain controller did it. Do we have a log that says the domain controller signed that assertion, right? And that is the opposite of the way we do most of our detections. Most of our detections are A plus B bad, right?
Right.
A, B, and C within a
Well,
time window
and
bad,
we always say
right?
in these investigations, we can't prove the negative, right? Because we get
Right.
these questions about, like, well, what about this situation? Well, what about this situation? And it's like, well, we don't see evidence of it. Oh, that means it
Right.
didn't happen. No, that is
Which means,
that is
yeah,
not what that
right.
means, as
Not
it
at all.
turns out.
Yeah. Yeah. Right.
Yeah.
It just means you don't have any evidence of it directly. And this really ties into a great point, right? Which is I can't begin to do this unless I have comprehensive logging, right? If I can't look at my domain controllers and say, I've got it all, right? Then you can't do anything with this because the the you literally are having now to use the absence of evidence as evidence itself. And the only sane way you can do that is if you are confident, right? That you confident that you have all legitimate logs. So this is a nightmare, man.
Yeah.
So okay, real quick, right? From a public relations standpoint here, you're in charge of Microsoft security operations.
Don't put that on
You're
me.
trying to, what's that?
Don't put that on me.
Yeah, I am today. Public relations side, at least. What do you advise them on? How do you
The
advise them?
I'm advising Microsoft Public Relations. Um, I would say that we're continuing to investigate,
Mhm.
reassure the public that we caught it, we patched it quickly, you know, those kinds of things. Definitely don't admit fault.
Right.
I mean, this is a hard one, right? Because I must say, confidence in Microsoft has gone back down recently, right? Like,
Yeah.
so when I started in the industry, from a security perspective, Microsoft's name was Mud, right?
Right.
And
Yeah,
then
yeah,
they
totally.
had the whole, initiative and, be more secure and, all of the good things that came out of that. And they very much course corrected. And I gotta say, we're going back to
Hmm.
like it was, in my opinion.
Yeah.
And I feel like Microsoft has a heavy lift here, and really they're so ubiquitous in so many. I know that I'm straying from your question, but they're
You're
so
okay.
ubiquitous in so
Hmm.
many environments.
Yeah.
I mean the vast majority, right? That they have a duty and an onus to be more transparent about what is going on here, and was it actually exploited, and what you can do as a consumer of their product to reassure that your environment is secure or intact still the way that you intend it to be. Yeah, I'm really disappointed in this.
Yeah, yeah. That's okay. So me too. The way I would frame this is what I would be framing here, right? And also, if I'm a CISO on Monday, right, what I'm talking to my TAM about is shared
Yeah.
responsibility,
Yeah.
right? Every time there's been an incident that I've had in Azure where I've worked with Microsoft, I hear about the shared responsibility model. And look, you can tell me all day long, trust me, bro. And I'm so sorry, that's not how security works, right? There's no TLP, trust me, bro.
What?
And so I know. So I need, some shared responsibility here, where Microsoft
Right.
is coming forward and saying, we know you don't get to CVSS 10 where there's like we don't know if we're going to be able to exploit this, right? Part of CVSS is exploit difficulty, right? Or exploit
Right.
reliability.
And
It's
getting to a
difficulty.
10 means it's
Yeah.
low attack complexity.
Oh, well,
Like,
exactly. Trivial, right?
right.
The attack is
Right.
well, it can be highly complex. Reliability, It can be-
Right. Right.
just to make sure we're all clear, right? Usually that those two, trend together,
Yeah.
but yeah.
Yeah,
So
you're right.
but attack reliability is high. The reason I extreme. The reason I bring this up then is that then there are logging traces,
Right.
right? So it's not a question of we don't know what this might look like, or telling someone what it might look like. The
Mm-hmm.
IOCs, right, might give the farm away and aid in exploit development. The only instance of this is already patched, so
Right.
take that out of the way. I I can only draw two conclusions from the fact that I've seen nothing from Microsoft on IOCs for either the Entra or the four other CVSS 10s in
Right.
Azure and Exchange Online. And just freaking yikes. The only two things I can come up with are we don't know yet, right?
Which,
Or
if that's the case, freaking say that.
yes, exactly, right?
We're still determining all of the data, something like, but don't
But
just be radio silent.
well, but you and I both know as soon as they say that, bring attention to it, right? That puts pressure on them to turn results around.
Oh, God forbid.
I know. I can hear your chips, by the way.
Sorry. Oh,
No, you're
I'm
okay.
fidgeting.
Oh, I know. I fidget
I'm,
too all the time.
yeah.
That's why I don't have anything in my hand, because if I do,
I
I'll
know.
click
Yeah.
the pen or whatever. But so the other thought is they may know that there are no logs that you can see, and that's really uncomfortable, right? But I think you say that regardless,
Yes.
right? So, well, real quick, what
And
are the other CVEs
so
here?
the
What are
other
those in?
ones are um 2 with Azure Arc.
And real quick, do you want me to explain Azure Arc for folks here?
I do, since
do?
I
Yeah.
just came to a limited understanding of what this is.
All good, all good. So Azure Arc is a way for you to use Azure's control plane to manage computers that aren't in Azure. A very common, where I've seen this used most, I won't say it's the only time I've seen it used, but the vast majority is with Kubernetes. All right, so I have either a population of machines that start, or clusters that started on, on-prem, and now I'm expanding to AKS, or vice versa. I was in AKS and I'm now rehoming or starting up different ops, or maybe a merger and acquisition or whatever. But I have stuff in sorry, did I say AKS? I didn't say AWS, did I?
You almost did. You stopped yourself.
AKS, okay, yeah. But Azure Kubernetes Service, right? And so that's up in AKS, and then you have Kubernetes on-prem, and you want to use a single control plane. and to manage them. That's what Azure Arc is. And there's 10.0s there. And now I'm really concerned that we're not seeing something from Microsoft, right? Because Azure Arc is like that those are my machines, right? Like literally by definition, those are my machines. And I don't know. I feel like we should be seeing something there, right? And what were the impacts of those? I know there's CVSS 10. Is it code execution again?
One is use of incorrectly resolved name or reference. And the other one is...
But I thought leading to it's deserialization is the other one. But then I thought that was leading to I thought they explicitly said leading to code execution. I could be wrong about that. Escalate privileges. Look,
Yeah.
bottom line here. Fun fact: if you if you have the
fun
managed
facts.
VM, I know if you have the managed VM permission in Azure or AWS or something different in AWS, but whatever, the managed VM permission, these VMs are running an agent inside them that allows you to manage them, and it runs with either system or root privileges depending on the platform. So most people look at managed VM and they think, well, okay, somebody could like delete the VM or restart it or whatever. You can also run code inside it, right? And so when I hear elevate privileges in Azure Arc, which literally by definition is a connector between my machines and like, I'm immediately worried that, yeah. I'm immediately worried. So.
And then Exchange Online has its own SSRF.
Wait, not Exchange on-prem?
I mean, I know several who are I know that's we keep saying,
Yes.
get off on-prem, get off on-prem, go
I know.
to Exchange Online.
Yeah.
And here we are.
Thanks, Microsoft, right? Like we keep
Microsoft.
trying to beat the drum for you here. Yeah, so it's an SSRF. And what's an SSRF?
Server side request forgery.
Fantastic. That wasn't a quiz, by the way. I
It
just
felt
like,
like one.
hey, okay, I could tell as you did the yeah. But yeah, so SSRF, right? So for those not tracking here, what that allows you to do and why this is so incredibly damaging in this particular instance is that allows you, the attacker, to trick a remote server into making a request on your behalf, right? So you're literally, by definition, you're outside the network. By definition, this Exchange server is sitting inside Microsoft's enclave for Exchange Online. When you trigger an SSRF, you now can go anywhere that server can go. Right? That server can request anything for you. This is back in the big Capital One AWS incident, where the threat actor there was able to steal a bunch of API keys. That was through SSRF. They tricked an EC2 instance, compute instance in AWS, to making a SSRF call to the metadata service, which runs in an unroutable IP space, right? So a PIPA IP space. So you could never request it yourself outside the network. But that system, game on all day long, right? Can
Let me
query
help
that.
you with that. Let me go grab that info for you.
And this can return all kinds of stuff, right? All kinds of really really damning stuff here. Sometimes because the position in the network is implied to be privileged, right? So literally they're using in many cases the source IP address as privileged, or when they're making the request, there's actually an MTLS exchange that's happening. Again, none of that stops this, right? If the threat actor can coerce the server into making the request on their behalf, and yikes. And so radio silence on this one too, huh?
Yeah. Yep. I'm not seeing anything about this. And so I just think, I mean, you take the 5 of these together and I'm just like, what is going on here? I mean, look, vulnerabilities are going to happen. I am not going to throw shade at anyone for having a vulnerability. Absolutely not. But how you respond, this, what this reminds me of is back when companies first started disclosing that they had had a cybersecurity incident, they would put these press releases out that were as good as the paper they were written on. You know, it was
Right.
just,
It's
oh, we care about your
crypticist, yeah.
security and blah, 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 blah. And everybody was like, what, like, why did you even bother? Right. But companies have gotten better about giving more details and being more transparent. And I think that
Yes.
helps everyone, right, from a security perspective. And to me, this has flavors of kind of that old practice of something happened, but it's fine. We take security seriously, and
Yeah.
you know,
Yeah. Right. I'm with you here, right? Microsoft is on the record with their SDL, right? Like they jumped up and down about with the SDL that, providing, like, you having source code access should not meaningfully change their security, right? And even came out at one conference. I remember one of the Microsoft bigwigs talking about how if you feel like your source code remaining secret, right, is the key to your security. It's like, that's just security through obscurity. Like, actually, threw the gauntlet down and called it that. And so I can't come up with a plausible reason here that Microsoft isn't being more transparent about what the impacts are here, right? Like, because I get I get that there could be an argument if this was software we had to go patch, that
but
if they gave additional details, they're giving the threat actors a head start in creating the exploit. But all of these say they've been patched. There's nothing for you to do.
Right.
Well, then arm me with the information to evaluate.
Make me feel better about this.
Well, okay, sure, that too. But even more important than make me feel good, arm me with the information so that I can determine what threat hunting, if any, right, there is to do. I mean,
and also arm me to be able to go talk to leadership, right?
Oh,
because
that too, yes. Yeah.
Because right now I have Microsoft said they fixed it. Trust me, bro.
Yeah. Oh yeah. 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 I mean, yeah. By the way, zero AI involved in this, right? Like, as far as we know.
Yeah.
There's, but it's so funny because we keep hearing about, like, folks worried about what if attackers hit me using AI, and I'm like, it'll look just like it would without them using AI, right? Nobody's talking about this other stuff sitting over here, all right? Like, hey, by the way, we just had a CVSS 10, multiple CVSS 10s, right? Because if you're using Arc, you almost certainly are using Entra. And so now you're 3 of the 5, right?
Well, and then the fourth one, so we've only talked about 3 of them. The fourth one is enabled remote code execution on Azure Managed Instance for Apache Casandra. I don't know what that is, but there's 5 here that were disclosed on Thursday. And I mean, remote code execution seems bad.
Yeah, Cassandra is a NoSQL storage.
Oh, okay.
But now this is bad too, right? So if we're talking about managed, we should be very clear what managed SQL means. I hear this word thrown around a bunch. People typically don't actually know what it means. This is platform as a service, right? Versus you, right? So platform as a service for this NoSQL Apache Casandra versus you buying infrastructure as a service from Microsoft and maintaining the operating system yourself. There's great and bad here, right? The great is you don't have to deal with any operating system patches ever, right? That's just taken care of you. The bad is I don't have visibility. I can't run EDR.
Right.
I don't have to, but also the flip side is I can't, right? Because I can't see at the operating system level, literally by design. And so now we're back in another situation where I need better transparency here, right? I mean, first off, plus to Microsoft, right? Because there's no legal requirement, to my knowledge at least, that they release these CVEs in the first place, right? And there was a time they didn't, right? I mean, roll back 4 or 5 years ago. I don't remember exactly when they began, but like there was a position for a while that they had that said it's cloud, so it doesn't get a CVE because once we patch it,
it doesn't matter.
There's nothing for you to do. So good that they're publishing these. Bad that we have no idea what the heck's going on behind the scenes on the, like, arm me with a decision, should I threat hunt? And in particular, the Arc, right, stuff here. that one for me is especially interesting because those are my machines,
Yeah.
right? And so if the vulnerability could have theoretically allowed an attacker, I don't care whether you tell me it did or didn't, whether you think it was exploited or not, but if you tell me that it theoretically could have allowed an attacker to gain code execution on my machines, right, which is not outside the realm of possibilities, I may in some instances be burning those to the ground. If they're deployed through IAC, what does a
Right.
repave cost me anyway?
Right. Right.
Right? So
Infrastructure as a
infrastructure as
sorry.
code.
Infrastructure as
Yeah.
code. Yep.
Yeah.
It's
Yeah.
too
You're
many
thinking infrastructure as a
acronyms.
service from earlier. Yeah, I
Yeah.
know. I know. Yeah. So
Yeah. So overall, just ew. But then, wait, there's more.
wait, where's more?
On Friday, CISA tagged a critical severity remote code execution flaw in the Windows Internet Key Exchange Service extensions component as being actively exploited. To be clear, there was a patch for this released in April, but
Okay. Well,
that doesn't mean it's been applied anywhere.
yeah.
But
I
now,
feel like they. Oh, go ahead. Sorry.
I'm just saying, I just wanted to reiterate, CISA is now saying as of Friday, they have evidence of active
Yeah.
exploitation on this one.
Yeah, I mean that one for me, I've got to kind of throw my hands up and say, if you haven't patched since April, like I'm not no victim shaming here at all, right? But well, if I can't get the patch done, in now we're talking that was
4
released in
months.
April,
Yep.
yeah, so we're talking about 4 months of patch Tuesdays, right? You haven't been able to apply the patch, right? Like no actionable advice I give you is going to help beyond go fix your patching, right? So I mean.
It's so, I hate that because I have
Me
very
too.
recently, I know, I know. I've very recently done work with and for many companies
Mm-hmm.
that, despite my best efforts, I could not get their vulnerability management fixed. And despite being like KPIs on the board deck, all of this kind of stuff, I could not make meaningful progress forward. Even prioritizing based on business context, giving explanations, saying it's actively exploited, like just thwarted at every turn, right? And so I really hate it when we as security professionals are like, well, just go fix your patch process.
No, I mean, obviously, I'm not saying that.
No,
I
no,
guess
yeah.
where I'm, yeah, for all the same reasons, right? Where I'm at is I couldn't in good conscience justify saying, let's go spend resources on hunting based on this internet key
Right.
exchange,
Yeah.
vulnerability being actively exploited. Like, okay, but this other stuff, like this is this, and by the way, too, if you're not in a highly mature security program, all the stuff we're talking about control, Azure's control plane, forget about it, right? Don't bother yourself with it. Go work on the basics because that's not your concern. That's
Right.
not how threat actors are coming after you.
Right.
Even once a nation state threat actor gets access to something like that, they will use it ultra judiciously, because every time they use it, they're creating the potential that they burn it to, that it gets burned, that it gets patched, right? It gets discovered and then patched. And so they're not gonna take that risk, right?
Right.
If they can walk right in your front door, they're only doing this to networks that are, I presume, they're only operationalizing stuff like this in networks that already have all the basics tackled here, right? So, yeah. So I'm with you. I just I just want to throw out here, like, I can't give any new actionable advice if you can't get patching of endpoints done in 4 months. Right? So,
yes.
yeah.
Agreed.
Yeah.
Agreed. Yes.
Well, I mean, my actual advice is go fix your patching, right? But, so.
But I think maybe we should do an episode on what does that look like? What are techniques? What are, and not that I've done all the best practices and all of that and still run into, political challenges and lack of will. But, maybe we have listeners that don't know even like what good looks like, where to start,
Yeah, we
how
should
to
probably do
approach
that
it.
at some
So
point. Yeah. I'm down,
Add
definitely.
it to the list.
Yeah, we'll add it to the list.
Yeah.
But are we done with the list for today? Where are we at?
I mean,
I think we're set.
I think we are.
Yeah,
I mean, what more is there to say?
yeah. There's nothing more to say on this.
Yeah.
As much as I want to say more, it's gonna get me sued, and I'll just stop now.
Yeah. Yeah.
So yeah, yeah.
Okay.
Well, then you want to read us out?
I do. Hey, folks, that's the episode. Did we make you smarter? Tell your friend. Did we make you mad? Tell your vendor. Breach Please is a production of and copyright of JWJH Media LLC. All rights reserved. Legally, the opinions of our hosts are our own, but we are an LLC, so... we did not have guests. None of this is legal, financial, or security advice. Do your homework before pointing anything we said at prod. Thanks for listening. Patch something. Make a threat actor's life suck a little more. Follow the 3-2-1 rule, and see you next time on Breach Please.